Hi, welcome to Deep Recaps. Today's film is an adaptation of a Japanese psychological thriller zombie manga called I Am a Hero. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and enjoy the ride. The movie begins with information about a woman bitten by a dog. Suddenly, the news informs that it was actually the woman who bit the dog. Hideo Suzuki is an assistant to a mangaka, or a manga author, and he has dreams of becoming a proper mangaka himself. When one of the other assistants, Mitani, complains that mangas are terrible, Hideo gives a rousing speech defending the work they do, expressing that no matter how small their role is, it is all necessary. They are working together on one of Japan's greatest exports, and they should be proud of the important work they do. But he's actually just imagining all that. Hideo goes home to his small apartment, which he shares with his girlfriend, Teko. Because of Hideo's low-paying, dead-end job, he and Teko have a cold relationship. In other words, she is extremely mean to him. That night, Hideo works on his own manga a little bit. Then, he sadly looks at the Newcomer Award that he won 15 years ago. Looking for inspiration, he brings out his hunting rifle. Teko wakes up and scolds him for his weird hobbies. The next day, he goes to show his manga, but the publisher rejects it, saying that the protagonist is too normal. That night, he and Teko get into an argument about Hideo's assistant job, which barely brings in any money. She says that success is not destined for all, and Hideo is simply too normal to get it. She's already 34 years old now, and cannot put up with this anymore, so she throws him out with all of his things, including the rifle. The following day, the news reports of a virus outbreak. One of the assistants, Mi-chan, is sick. The mangaka is also feeling unwell, and Hideo notices a band-aid on his neck. Later, Hideo gets a call from Teko, who apologizes and wants to get back with him. So, Hideo, like many a simp before him, goes to her. She does not answer the door, so he looks through the mail slot. Teko moves strangely, and her body starts convulsing, like she needs an exorcism. She suddenly rushes out and attacks Hideo. Hideo panics and brings the door in between them. Teko angrily bites the door, and all of her teeth drop out. Hideo struggles against her and finds himself trapped inside the apartment. She attacks him further and bites his hand. Hideo pushes her down, and she is killed by his award. And the irony is incredible. Hideo gets scared and runs away. Outside, he sees a woman running away with a bloody arm. The skies are filled with planes. Hideo reaches the mangaka studio, where Mitani is fighting the mangaka. Mitani manages to bash his head in. He says that biting transfers the virus, so Hideo checks his wound. Thankfully, Teko's bite did not break his skin. Mitani says that if this was America, he would have just blown away the mangaka with a shotgun. You goddamn right, Mitani. Mitani then realizes that he's been bitten. He does not want to become one of the infected, so he kills himself. Mi-chan arrives just then, and her face is completely bloated. She tries to attack Hideo, who quickly runs away. Outside, Hideo sees people attacking each other. Chaos reigns supreme, and society has given way to the anarchy of an unseen virus. He finds a taxi, and a schoolgirl also joins him. But some more of the infected arrive. So, Hideo brings out his rifle. And he's just dreaming. A businessman enters the taxi, and Hideo and the schoolgirl also join in. Every channel in the nation confirms that this is a serious issue. As they travel, they see that the businessman was bitten. He also becomes violent and bites the driver. Then, he starts attacking Hideo. After a struggle, Hideo drops him outside with some help from the schoolgirl. But then, the driver also starts turning into the infected. The girl rushes to the back seat as the driver speeds up the taxi and starts attacking them. Hideo puts on both of their seatbelts just before the car crashes. They wake up sometime later. Thankfully, both Hideo and the girl are safe. They come out of the wreckage and see lots of cars crashed against each other. The girl checks the internet and finds out that the virus is called the ZQN virus. Apparently, it will die in high altitudes. So, the two of them decide to go to Snoop Dogg's house. Mount Fuji. That night, they stop at a temple where he shares his food, while she plays her favorite music. She gives her name as Hiromi and thanks him for protecting her. The next morning, Hideo wakes up earlier and sees bite marks on Hiromi's neck. He quickly aims the rifle at her. Hiromi wakes up and says that she was bitten by the neighbor's baby, and she isn't sure if the baby was ZQN or not. She gives him permission to kill her, but Hideo says that she'll be cured at the high altitude of Mount Fuji. Touched by the trust he's giving her, Hiromi sheds a tear. They travel some time and then stop. Hiromi tells Hideo to go on and starts to turn into a ZQN herself. Hideo reluctantly leaves her. He runs into a man, but the man turns out to be a ZQN as well. He attacks Hideo, but Hiromi arrives just then and saves him. Much to Hideo's horror, she then beheads him. Hideo thanks her and is about to leave, but then takes her along with him. Hiromi moves and behaves in a stiff manner, like a mannequin, so Hideo has to guide her along. They find some canned food. Hiromi spits out the normal food and instead eats the cat food. A long time passes in the forest, and Hideo has now grown a beard. He is used to carrying Hiromi around. Thankfully, he finds a shopping cart, which he uses to move her. The shopping cart is from the Fuji Outlet Park. They go there and find it deserted. Hideo tries on new clothes, when suddenly a ZQN attacks him. Thankfully, he is saved, but it's not Hiromi, it's someone else. More people arrive. They ask about Hiromi, and Hideo says that she's sleeping. They are not suspicious of her, because apparently ZQNs cannot sleep. More ZQNs arrive, so Hideo covers Hiromi's left eye and escapes with them. Some people play loud noises, which attract the infected. The humans escape up to a secret rooftop. Here, Ayura, the leader, gives supplies to Hideo. He also asks him to take as many Rolex watches as he can. The next day, Hideo sings Hiromi her favorite song, and she responds to the music, smiling a little. Hideo is then shown around the place by Abe-san. He says that the ZQN do whatever they used to do before they got infected. For example, a former athlete spends all of his time doing high jumps, so much so that his head is now bashed in, while Abe-san's wife, who is a shopaholic, is trying to enter the mall. Since 95% of the Earth's population spends all day behind computers now, these things probably aren't that dangerous. The group locate the emergency supply, which can sustain them for 6 months. But they need Hideo's rifle. When Hideo hesitates, Ayura sends some men after Hiromi. A woman, Yabu, tries to protect her, but they overpower her. Hideo quickly runs there and threatens to shoot Ayura. Ayura says that Hideo does not have the guts to kill, and aims his crossbow at Hiromi. Suddenly, Hiromi uses her super strength to throw the men away. Her cover falls, and everyone sees her ZQN eye. Ayura quickly shoots her in the head, and the men take Hideo's gun. Then, they beat him up. But suddenly, one of the men, Sango, snatches the rifle and takes over command from Ayura. He commands the men to take Ayura's crossbow, and Ayura is suddenly at their mercy. Hideo and Yabu go to check on Hiromi. Thankfully, her brain was not struck properly, and she is still alive. Yabu says that Hiromi has a pulse, and ZQNs don't have pulses. Later, the mission to take the supplies starts. Hideo is also taken along. Sango's men give Ayura a simple golf club and send him to the front. The others make loud music while the group sneaks underground. There, it is super dark. Ayura uses this to his advantage and sneaks away. Suddenly, the lights turn on and the men find the food supply. They start celebrating without realizing that they are being monitored on the CCTV. Loud music starts blaring over the speakers, and a ZQN attacks them. Sango shoots it, and more ZQN follow. They start escaping, while many die in the process. Sango does not know how to reload and drops the rifle. Ayura looks on from the control room and turns the volume up. The ZQN outside also hear this and move in. Hideo himself is trapped, so he hides in a locker. Hideo has been playing Outlast. Galvanized by the orchestral music, the athlete ZQN starts prepping himself. He then jumps and soars high towards his Olympic gold. He crashes onto the rooftop and starts attacking the women who have been left there. Meanwhile, Hideo is still hiding in the locker. He hears Yabu speaking on the radio, saying that the rooftop has been compromised and everyone is dead. Yabu begs for help, so Hideo jumps out, only to be bitten immediately. But he was only imagining the scenario. He thinks of it multiple times, but each scenario leads to his death. He looks into the mirror at the face of a coward, at the face who could be a hero. He jumps out and immediately gets bitten. But thankfully, his arm, full of Rolex watches, keeps him safe. He kills the ZQN and tells Yabu that he's coming. Hearing this, Yabu carries Hiromi and takes her down. As Hideo also goes towards them, he finds his rifle and reloads it. Yabu comes down to the parking lot where she meets Ayura. He says that he found a working car, and Yabu follows him. But he tells her to leave Hiromi and Hideo and have sex with him. Yabu immediately senses something wrong with him, even without the perverted words. Ayura has actually been bitten, and he's turning into a ZQN. He then says that Yabu smells like his mother and starts following her, calling her mommy all the while. Hideo arrives and shoots Mr. Oedipus Complex in the head. Sango also arrives and hands over the rifle shells to Hideo. As they escape, Abe-san arrives, and behind him is a horde of ZQNs. They are surrounded on all sides. Hideo says that he has 96 rifle shells and will fight them all. Hiromi recovers a little and thanks him for protecting her. Hideo then goes full John Wick on the ZQNs. His hands tremble when reloading, and one shell even falls to the ground, but his aim is straight and true. ZQNs die left, right, and center. Sango, Abe-san, and Yabu also help. They fight a long while, and Sango starts to get eaten. He asks Hideo to kill him, so Hideo sadly shoots him with the rest of them. Abe-san also gets bitten by his own wife. He kills her and then shoots himself to be with her. After a long and exhausting fight, Hideo manages to shoot every single one of them. He then falls to his knees in utter relief. Suddenly, the athlete arrives to take part in the fun. Hideo shoots its leg, but the second one misses. What's worse, he has no more shells. But he then notices the one that fell to the ground earlier. So he rushes to it, as does the athlete. Hideo reaches faster, reloads quickly, and shoots the athlete in his bashed-in head. Now Hideo can breathe in relief. But wait, the athlete wakes up because Hideo apparently only got half of his head. It changes target and runs towards Yabu and Hiromi. Hideo resorts to an ancient weapon from history and clubs the athlete in the head, spilling his blood everywhere. Hiromi looks at him in awe and calls him hero. Hideo also takes his sweet time to strike a heroic pose, because that is what's most important. They take the car that Ayura found. After taking one last look, they leave. As they drive away, Hideo stares at his hands, which are now firm and steady. This film is all about the little guy. We all grow up with dreams to rise to the top of our chosen field, but the difficult truth is that it takes a lot of luck to get there, and most of us end up falling shy of the mark. This, however, is nothing to be embarrassed about. Just like Hideo giving his morale-boosting speech at the mangaka studio, we should all find pride in what we do, and strive to add a bit of what makes us unique to the world around us. Though Hideo is just a normal man with normal ideas, he ends up becoming the hero of his own story. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like if you'd like to help the channel out. Also, check out my gaming channel if you're interested. The link is in the description. See you next time.